What's up everyone? So I'm back here today with a pretty cool little gear review here. This time it's actually a VST drum plugin. This drum plugin is made by Robot Dog Drums and this is their rock library. But before we get much further, I do want to say that although this is not a sponsored video, Robot Dog Drums did send over this library to me. I do actually make a percentage commission off of each sale. So if you decide to buy this, I do have a link in the description down below. And if you buy it, it does help me out here to keep making videos like this on the channel. But again, they did not pay me to make this video. All thoughts and opinions are my own. And I honestly love this drum library. I've been looking at it for a while. So let's go ahead and dive in and listen to this in the context of a full demo mix. Now let's go ahead and listen to those drum tones soloed real quick. So as you can see, they sound pretty sick on their own, and this is actually one of the reasons I'm really stoked for it, because I'm learning to play drums right now on an electronic drum set. I'm really stoked to have that as my drum sound instead of the stuff that's built into the Roland drum module. So definitely loving that so far. So as you can hear, their drums are pretty much perfect for modern metal, rock, for new metal, for any of those genres in between there. But what's really cool about this drum plugin is that there's so much to unpack inside of it. So when we're looking here at the interface, so you'll notice the drums look cool. This is different than the normal graphical user interface you see with a lot of drum libraries. This one has almost like a comic feel to it, which is really sick. So if I click on something like the kick drum, you'll notice that up here in the top left-hand corner of the window, I'm then able to check and switch between the different kick drums that are out there just by clicking these arrows, or if I click on it, it'll give me a drop down of the different drums. So if I wanted to hear the Great Maple, I can hear that. If I go down, I can just click through and easily sample all of the different drums that are available. Same thing goes for the snare and for the cymbals and for the toms. You'll notice that there's a lot of different things that you can choose here. And this is great because it gives you a ton of variety and allows you to customize the kit based on how you're going to use it, and maybe the genre of the song even that you're playing it in. The next cool thing that I love about this is how easy it is to use. So if we look at the character knob right here, this basically dials in the compression that is being used or not being used. And so if I dial the compression all the way up like I did for that full mix that you hear, I'm able to get sounds like this. But if I pull it back, you can hear there's a lot of EQ taken away, a lot of compression taken away, and a lot of reverb, it sounds like, taken away as well. But literally just a flip of that knob, it makes it super easy to have a really mix-ready drum tone ready to go, which is super important for me because you all know that I like to crank out videos for my different social medias. So it really makes it easy for me to just jump in, write something, get it done, and be ready to go. Now, when we go over to the mixer here, this is actually where things get cool as well because you can really customize the inputs and outputs. Robot Dog Drums has a great tutorial video on how to route the multi-outs, which makes it extremely helpful when you're inside of an application like Logic. Because if I bring up my mixer here, you'll notice, let me move the plugin out of the way here. You'll notice that if I go to my drum stack down here, I've got the drum bus itself, and then I've got the reverb track, and then from there I've got kick, snare, all of the toms, and then the cymbals are these last ones here. I just didn't bother to name them because I'm lazy. So from there I'm able to then individually adjust everything. And yes, other drum VSTs do this as well, but what's cool about Robot Dog Drums is they made it ridiculously easy for me to do. So all I had to do inside of Logic was actually set this to a 16 by stereo multi-out inside of Contact, and then come over here in the bottom right hand corner where it says out preset, and I just chose multi-max, and that did everything that you see on the screen for me. So having those kind of presets baked in is really cool because it really takes away from the amount of time that I have to spend building all of this stuff just so that I can get to writing and mixing. If we go further into the setup, this is where, again, things get pretty cool because you'll notice that there's a lot of controls up here that say learn, and it's very simple because I actually, behind me, you may or may not be able to see it, have an electronic drum set. That makes this stupid easy for me because I can actually go up here to MIDI note mapping and click on our brand e-kit, because I have a Roland brand drum kit, and I can instantly change the mapping to the module that I have right there. So I don't have to go in and do anything elaborate, which saves me time, obviously. So it even goes down to hi-hat controller. If you have an electronic drum set that has a hi-hat controller that's electronic and not like a normal pedal, this is really cool to be able to adjust that super easily. And then lastly, you do have grooves built in here as well. Having a built-in groove player is really cool for a couple of reasons. One, because it's just nice to have and something that you paid money for, right? But it's also really nice if you cannot get an idea started, right? If you're trying to write a riff, or if you're trying to even just find inspiration for writing a guitar riff, having drum loops ready to play makes things really, really simple, and that's one of my favorite ways to write. One other thing that I really wanted to point out over here, so under preset with the MIDI note mapping, you'll notice that I can change this to things like Superior Drummer, Getgood Drums, Modern and Massive, so on and so forth. What's cool about this is if you've ever programmed anything using those other drum libraries, and maybe you wanted to test out with Robot Dog Drums Rock, you can actually immediately change your mapping to match that other brand's mapping. So that way you can immediately take the MIDI that you've already programmed and put it in here. That is a lifesaver. I actually pay for a whole other plugin that does that kind of stuff for me, so it's super awesome to have that built into the Robot Dog Drums app. One last thing that I would like to point out is, aside from a couple of EQ moves, I didn't do any extra processing to these drums whatsoever. So if I move the drum library out of the way, I did Pro Q3 on the kick, just normal processing here. I just wanted a little bit more of like a high-end click to it, so it cuts through the mix a little bit better. And then on the snare, I did emphasize a couple of other frequencies here as well, and then I cut out some of the lows. So no actual like extra compression or anything like that. On my master bus, I have the JST Maximizer, and so you can see this isn't doing a ton right now. I've got the low end compressed a little bit, the bass enhanced up a little bit, and then I added a ton of saturation, and I barely raised the Maximizer at all here. So lastly, on the main mix bus, I do have some EQ going on the entire mix here. And then I do have some compression going on the entire mix as well. Very, very light. There's no vocals on this mix, obviously, so I didn't need to do a ton here. And yeah, that's about all I have here. So I'm really stoked to be working with Robot Dog drums. And I think that compared to a lot of other, honestly, more expensive drum libraries, this drum library really holds its own and has so much built in for its price. I mean, every single one of these drums, if we click on these, you'll notice how many different snares we have to choose from, right? All of these different kicks, even the toms. If we look here, there's a ton of different toms to choose from. And I mean, I've got 5 to begin with, and then there's multiple versions of each of those toms in there. Same thing goes for the cymbals. There's just a lot packed in here. So that way you're really never going to run out of the different sounds that you can choose from for any of the songs or mixes that you're working on. And for that, I'm just honestly really grateful to have a plugin like this available to me. And with that, I hope you all enjoyed this video. I'm looking forward to making a lot more content with this specific drum library. So look out for me to make some with me actually playing drums, and a lot more original music with me using this drum library. If y'all have any questions, please go ahead and leave them down in the comments below, and I'd be more than happy to answer them. So thank y'all, peace.